Well, fall is here, and with winter on the horizon, courts getting cold, it's time to move inside. And today I'm going to make my first pickleball backstop. I have seen a couple of these made on YouTube channels before, but I've got my own kind of design for how I want to do this. And so follow me today. We're going to do this together, going to learn how to do it, and I hope this is helpful for you too. So I have designed a backstop that is maybe a little bit different than some you've seen. Some you've seen have used two big sheets of plywood, 2 by 4 by 8 sheets actually. And for me, that's a little too big. I'm trying to make this fit inside my garage. And honestly, I think a smaller backstop is probably what I need. It's going to force me to have a little bit more accuracy, but really, honestly, I want to do a little bit more of the small work rather than the big work while we're indoors. I want to work a lot more on my dinking, a lot more on my short volleys. So this is the size I'm going to build. It's 67 inches high. And well, let's see here. It is 44 inches wide. So 67 high, 44 wide. And I've given you a little digital design here of the overall dimensions of it and what it kind of looks like and how the feet work on it. So I'll let you take a look at that. So here's the things that I'm going to need today for my project. You'll notice that I've got my sheet of plywood here. And I've got obviously my 2x4s already cut around the edges. That's going to be the frame. That's going to be kind of what gives it a little bit more stability. The feet are over here. I haven't cut them yet. They are in that piece of lumber right there. And that will be also the arms that I'm going to cut in just a few minutes. I'm using some liquid nails. I'm using some regular nails. And I'm going to tell you what those little eye hooks are for at the end of the project. And oh, by the way, there's the tape. And the tape is going to be needed for the line across where we know the net line. So that's a little bit about the project. Let's get started. So I'm going to get started here by laying down a bead of caulk right here, or rather the liquid nails. And then I'm going to come behind it with some screws and screw the frame down, basically the 2x4s, onto this piece of plywood. By the way, it's about a 5/8 piece of plywood. I think you could probably get away with different sizes of that as long as your frame is strong enough. But it has to be something that's pretty rigid on the side of the plywood also. So I'm going to lay down just a small bead of caulk here, or a bead of my liquid nails, if they'll come out. And I made a little audible here. I was going to use some liquid nails, but the liquid nails I had was a little bit old, so I've decided just to use Elmer's glue. What I'm trying to do is make sure that the backboard is secure to my frame. I'm going to put some anchors on that with some screws, but I just want to make sure that it's down nice and tight and it's really a tight fit to the overall frame. So here I go. I'm going to put down a little bit of glue. Whoops, that's a lot. We're going to just make our way. And I'm going to do that around each of the edges right now. So let's go ahead and do this last edge right here. Got a good bead of glue right there. Going to turn this over, work it in just a little bit so that it's nice and covered that whole section right there. All right, and so I've got some 2.5-inch wood screws, and we are going to now go around and secure this frame to the plywood. I'm going to start down here at the far end because that's the end in which it's going to tilt up to the top, and I want that to be nice and flush. So as I work my way up, I'll make sure that that end stays nice and flat because I want that to stand against the ground. Here we go. Well, with the camera off, I have done a little bit more planning. And I'm going to tilt this up right here, and it's going to come up, and then I'm going to need to, at that time, with it being perpendicular to the ground, I'm going to need to anchor it right here. So I cut these pieces right here that are the legs, and then I also cut the pieces here that are the arm pieces that are going to come up and brace it from the back along the side of the edge. I'm going to be able to do that and show you kind of how it works, but I want you to notice right now that I cut this piece at an angle. While I had the camera off, I tried to kind of figure out about what angle it was and kind of match it to what I think was mostly perpendicular. So we're going to have a chance to raise the whole thing up here in just a second and then try to anchor it off. But I wanted to explain to you what I was doing before I did it. Well, we have come to the spot in the project that, well, honestly, might be the most difficult of all, because I'm going to raise this up and then begin to anchor down the legs. I have started some of the screws already, so I just have to get them in, and I also have my brace right over here ready to go. I'm going to let you watch while I struggle with this a little bit, and we're going to see how I do. Here we go. I'm just going to tack this in. It's not really going to be where it's going to land, but I'm just doing that to kind of stabilize it so that I can get these other feet going the right way. Here I go. I'm going to drill these in. Well, I turned the camera off because I had a little difficulty driving the screws into this. So I've switched to good old-fashioned nails, and I've already driven in this side. I'm going to drive in the other side, and we should be able to then position this bar right here. Let me get this one in. So the legs are on, not anchored down completely, but on enough. And so now it's time for me to work on these ridges or these poles right here, these arms, these anchors. And I'm going to straighten these up, level them off, and then nail them in. I'm going to countersink them first with a drill to make sure that the nails are going to go in and bite nicely. So I'm going to pull this off first of all. Actually, okay, let's drive this last nail in the foot right here. Already, I can tell that it might need a little bracing this way. If I put something across a piece of wood right here between these two, that would strengthen this tremendously on the backside so that it wouldn't keep it from moving around. I'm going to do that right now. Well, I braced the back side of that, and so obviously we've got a standing board now, and you'll notice that it's painted green. That happened to be, I lucked out on that because I just had a piece of wood that I had previously painted for another purpose, and I didn't mind that green. Obviously, you can go with any color you want. Time for the finishing touches now. We're going to put the line on, and as you know, a net is 36 inches at the sides, 34 inches in the middle. I think I'm going to go with just an average and go maybe 35 and a half inches. So I'm going to measure up and create my line for that right now, and then I'll put the tape across it. Here we go. Okay, we've got our line across. I've penciled that in. Now it's time to apply our line. Here we go. line. I think it's also a good idea to have some sort of a target that you're generally shooting for. So I'm going to put my target right here, center of the board, and that is a spot that I will honestly try to hit right there in the center. There's one more piece of this little puzzle, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to put some eye bolts right here into the legs. So what will these eye bolts right here allow me to do? Well, they'll allow me to take a carabiner like this, hook it in, and now I'm able to pull this to a different spot in the garage. So this is a handy way to move this around when I want to get it out of the way. Well, it's time for us to get a paddle out and see how this works. Stay tuned. All right, here we go. We're going to see how it bounces off of the wood. The frame's all in place. It's ready to go. Here we go. I think this is going to work. This is just what the doctor ordered for these winter days when I can't get out on the court, but I want to work on things. I can tell already that I'm just going to have a lot of practice here with my small stuff, and that's going to be, I think, a good thing for me to do over the winter. I hope this helped you. It's not that difficult. I know you can do it. And so good luck on the pickleball court, and I hope you enjoyed making this with me today.